But trust and believe, when you're walking towards it, there's going to be things thrown at you to try you to see like, okay, is this going to knock her off? But my thing is, when something's thrown your way, you just find another way to go around it and keep back on the path. In today's video, we will be talking about the magazine feature that I was a part of from Voyage Atlanta magazine. It actually came out last Thursday, and I just kind of wanted to share my experience with it, as well as give just more in-depth information about the story I told in the interview. So yeah, let's just get into it. So basically, when it came to the magazine feature, this is the first time I've ever been featured in any magazine ever. Voyage Atlanta is basically a part of just like the Voyage magazine collection. So I think they started Voyage LA first, and then they have made they've made dedicated magazines for like other larger cities. So they have one for LA, they have one for Atlanta, they have a Voyage Miami, I think they have a Voyage New York. So there's different editions in different cities, and the reason that is because Voyage Atlanta is dedicated to spotlighting local people in that city that are doing great things. And once I learned that about the magazine, I was more interested in partnering with them and working with them to tell my story. They reached out to me in January and asked if I wanted to be a part of their Inspiring Stories section within the magazine. And at first, I'm not gonna lie, y'all, because I didn't know anything about this magazine. You know, when they reached out, I was kind of like, who is this? Like, like, who is this? How did they get my information? Is this legit? But of course, I know, like, since they're kind of like, they're not, some people know about them, some people don't. But going off the fact that maybe some people don't, she ended up like leaving like a fax column at the end of the email, just so I can know that they're a respectable like magazine and it's real. So after reading it and learning everything about it, I was like, okay, I feel a little bit more comfortable. It also felt more comfortable because sometimes people will reach out to you and want you to work with them, but then they want you to pay them, which is never a good thing. Like, you should be getting paid if they want you to, you know, to work with them. So basically, I ended up, once I knew like they were like, no, you don't have to pay, it's free, we this is the reason we do this. We do this to showcase people in the in your city and show what they're doing. And so I was more like on board after learning that. From there, you know, they just sent me just like interview questions. Obviously it's COVID, so I wasn't going to be going into like a studio or anything and doing like an interview in person or anything like that, because obviously they weren't recording it either. So it made more sense for them to just send me the questions. I had 2 weeks to answer the questions and also send 8 photos back to them that they could place in the magazine as well. I'm not gonna lie, I was having like anxiety with the whole like process, because, and the reason that is because I was going back and forth about like what I wanted to share, what I didn't want to share. And the biggest thing I felt like I wanted to share was just more about the whole incident that happened with my past job, where I was basically let go for like discriminatory practices that they had going on there. But I'll go a little bit into that later. But I didn't know if I really wanted to go into that part. But in the end, obviously I did, because I wanted to showcase it just in case someone is like walking in the path that, you know, I once walked, and they're there now, and just so they know that, you know, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I remember that whole day I was like writing out the response, and I was going through, I started off by talking about like the killing of my father when I was 5 years old. This was like the first time I ever learned about death. Like, literally, I did not know people could, you know, leave this earth until like my dad died when I was 5. And that just kind of shaped my life. That whole incident, like, really, I feel like it just shaped me for who I was going to be going into the future. And it really toughened me, because I knew that life was precious, and if you want something, you gotta go for it right now, because life can be taken from you in an instant. So I was always like, growing up, I was always like kind of like a born leader, like amongst like, you know, like my cousins and things like that. Like they were always following lead. And obviously back then in those days, I didn't know. Like I just knew, like I was always being like, oh, we're gonna do this, and this. And people would just follow. And not knowing that that was kind of like a characteristic or a trait that was something that I could use along the lines as I grew up. But yeah, that was always kind of like, that was like a trait. I was always super competitive. When I was young, we would always be outside and playing and stuff like that. And I was I always wanted to win secretly. I always wanted to win. I always wanted to be like the best at everything. And I'm kind of like that now, but I'm a little different. I would say I'm just a tatty-o different. I still want to be the best, but it's a little different now. But like I said in the interview though, I was competitive, but it wasn't in a malicious or like revengeful way. It was more like, you know, this person's the best at this, so I want to, you know, be friends with this person. It was more like it made me want to be friends with those people, just so I could learn more from those people, just so I could be just as great as I thought they were. It was more of competitiveness in that way. After like childhood and stuff like that, I was always a girl who was always singing in the car. I could pick up like songs like this, I could listen to it and I would like know it. And I remember my grandmother once saying like, how do you learn songs so fast? Like, you learn songs so fast, Stephanie. Like, you should be a singer. And I remember when I was a kid, like I didn't even look at myself as like wanting to be a singer or do anything like that. I just liked it and I was good at it. And I remember my mom, she would always be like, oh my God, I really want you to go to performing arts schools, you know, perfect your craft. Like, you're such a good singer. Like, this is what you're meant to do. This is what you're here on earth to do. And I don't know, like she would always say stuff like that, but I was just always just kind of like, like I just like singing, but I'm not trying to like do it professionally or whatever. But then like the end of middle school, my mom would like drive me past like this high school, and she was just like, oh my God, this is the high school I want you to go to. It's a performing arts school. It's a good school. You should really go here. And I guess she said it enough to where I was just like, okay, like let me give it a shot. Like let me see if this is something that I really can do, because I did love music. Like music is like has always been just kind of like my world. Like it really has. And so I auditioned, and I'll never forget, I sang Mariah Carey's Hero. That was the first song I ever auditioned with, because I was a huge Mariah Carey fan. I love Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, Anita Baker, Toni Braxton. Like those four singers were like the epitome of like voices for me, seriously. And I think the reason I love especially like Anita Baker and Toni Braxton and stuff like that, because my mom would listen to Anita Baker all the time, like all the time. My mom loved Toni Braxton, and my thing is Whitney Houston. Who doesn't love Whitney Houston's voice? And of course Mariah Carey as well. So I sang Hero, and I'll never forget the first day going to class, and my teacher passed out the music, and I looked at it and I was like, this is classical music. Like I didn't think he was gonna be singing this. And I remember like some people were kind of like, I'm not singing classical, and like people like dropped out. Like they were just like, I don't want to do, like I didn't sign up for this. I didn't think we were gonna be singing classical. But me, you know, being who I was a person like, you know, I'm up for, you know, for a challenge. You know, I've never sang this before, but let's give it a go. Let's give it a shot. Let's see if I can do it, you know. And I did it, and I actually was good at it. And by the time I was a senior in high school, you know, I was singing like solos and things like that, which made me want to go to college for it. So I ended up going to an HBCU, and I went for vocal performance. But you know, I loved the school. It was fun, but I felt like the School of Music for me was just not as challenging as I wanted it to be, because at that School of Music, I feel like I was always getting like all the solos, all the things to sing and stuff like that. So I felt like, okay, I didn't really feel as challenged, because I'm like, okay, I want to put myself in a bigger arena to challenge myself against other, you know, great singers. Not saying there weren't any great singers there, because there were great singers there. Don't get me wrong. But obviously I went to a HBCU. So, and I'm singing classical music. So we all know that when it comes to classical music, you know, there's other races that are singing it. So I wanted to like put myself in a bowl with other races and other people of demographics, to challenge myself to see like, where did I stand, you know, against other people out there, if I really wanted to take this serious. So I ended up going to another school that was just more diverse. Like the school itself was extremely diverse, but when I went into their School of Music, I remember that first semester, I was the only African-American vocal performance student, and I really felt like a fish out of water. It was just kind of like, wow, like for a school to be so diverse, it's so weird that the School of Music isn't as diverse as the school. So I remember that, and I remember I kind of felt like, it just felt weird at that time, because I was, by the way, I was like 20 years old. So I'm still like starting life, still learning everything there is to know about, like, you know, the world, you know. So I just remember I didn't feel included there. I did it, and I remember that first semester I kept thinking like, did I make the right decision? Like, should I, like, maybe I should have just stayed there. I don't know. So like, I remember I toughed it out, and then the second semester, other like African Americans started to come into the school, which was nice, but it did not stop the feeling of not feeling included. Let's just say that. And in a nutshell, I just remember when I was there, I just hated going there. I just remember I hated it. I remember the thought of just like waking up and having to go to that school was just like, it was awful. You can tell, my thing is, when it comes to discrimination and when it comes to like racism, trust me, once you feel it, you know it. But I feel like when that happened to me back then at that age, I had never experienced this, by the way, guys, like never. So a part of me was conflicted, because I'm just like, I don't know why I don't like it here. Like, I don't understand. I don't know why I feel just down all the time. I just hated it. And then I remember, I'll never forget, I finished like, I don't know, I finished like this, like one, I was there, by the way, I guess just to give you a bigger view, I was there from 2008 to 2012. And I remember like spring semester of 2012 ended. I went into like the summer, ended up getting me a job at a bank. And I was just like, I'm not going back there. Like, I'm not going back there, because I don't want to feel the way I feel when I go there. Because when I go to work, you know, I'm loving it. I'm having a great time. Like, you know, I feel happy. I feel good when I'm around my friends, you know, when I'm around my family. But in this space right here, I don't feel that. So something is off in this space. So I need to remove myself. And that's exactly what I did, which I basically never went back. I never went back. I didn't have a plan. I was just like, I just don't want to go back to that atmosphere. And so with that being said, I ended up going into corporate America, working in like the banks, learning literally everything. But I loved it. Like, I love every aspect of it, like, because it was just like a different world. Like, coming from a world where I was just learning music since I was 13 years old, like starting off in performing arts school up until 2012, when I ended up just quitting and not want to do music at all, just from the experience I had at the college. It was just exciting to learn something new and something fresh, and I loved it. I started off at one bank. I was just a teller, and then I worked my way up and I got hired at another bank. I was just a teller there for like a couple of months. Then I got promoted into like a management position. Then I remember I was at like a smaller branch. Then they moved me to like a big branch, and then I left there, and then I went back office wise and started doing like fraud detection. But let's just say I absolutely hated that one. That, I'm not gonna name jobs, I'm not gonna name company names or school names or anything like that, because I'm not trying to put anybody on blast. But this company that I had went to when I finally went to like my first back office job, I absolutely hated it. It's a big bank, but I did not like it. I was there, I think, from August to December, and I just remember I was like, I cannot do this. And then I actually got recruited at another bank, and then I ended up going into like compliance for a little bit, and then I went back to fraud, and then I got back in management there, and then from there I got recruited to go to another company that was outside of the banking industry, that was in the credit industry, and that was the job that completely just changed my whole life when it came to like my financial status. I just remember, like I say in the article, I was at the bank that I was previously, I was making $47K a year, and then going there, they offered me $80K to come and be an agent. Now, mind you, I was making $47K as a manager at a bank, and then I moved over to making $80K to just be a fraud agent. Like, crazy. And the thing about it is like at this company, they were more trying to go towards like tech ways, and so they didn't really care about like degrees or anything like that. They just cared about the experience, which was great for me because I was somebody who did not have a degree. Obviously, I've dropped out, but I had like all of the experience. So I remember I started off there, and then like in 3 months later, I was promoted to management because like I had already had like a bunch of management experience prior to that. My first team that I got was in Costa Rica, and that was another thing that changed my life, was being able to travel international. The first time I traveled international was through that job, and it was the first time I traveled alone as well. So imagine that, going international and traveling solo for the first time. But it was amazing. Like, I went to Costa Rica a lot of times. I absolutely love the people in Costa Rica. Seriously, I feel like going there really changed my whole mindset, because I was always that girl who was just like on the go, looking for like the next best thing, you know, kind of like how Americans are. We're always on the go. But going there, everything is just so like peaceful, and so just everybody's just like living life and loving life, and it just doesn't feel so forced to be like, I gotta make the next move, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. It's just, I don't know, I feel like also it just kind of humbled me in a way. It just made me look at life differently and made me realize that I need to slow down and enjoy life more, because I feel like before that I was not really enjoying my life. I was just working. But yeah, so I gained my team in Costa Rica, and then I also gained a team in the States. And so I would travel a lot there. I loved it in the beginning, but working there, I had worked there for 2.5 years, and I had 4 bosses. Like, so like the guy who hired me was great, but then I ended up getting another boss who I loved him. Like, he was kind of like my mentor. I learned a lot under him, and then after he left, and then I got another boss. And you know, he was great, but he just didn't really know much about like how to run our team. And at that time when he came, I was very seasoned and I knew a lot of things going on in the department. And so I was in a way kind of like helping him do his job. And then like around the end of that, I remember I was debating like, you know, do I want to stay here? Do I not? You know, I'm not really enjoying this anymore. Because I feel like not only am I doing my job, but I'm doing this person's job too. So, you know, and I'm not really feeling appreciated. And I remember I just kept going back in my mind, you know, if I wanted to stay there or not. And I remember I went to Costa Rica. This is the last time I went. This was in January of 2020. So this is before COVID hit. And I went there to go see my team. And then I ended up extending the trip like for the weekend, just to like think about like my next direction, like what did I want to do. And I remember on that trip, like flying back home, I decided that I was like, I'm ready to start looking for other stuff, because I don't think this is gonna be it for you. And when I got back, that boss ended up quitting, and then we got another boss. And that's when it definitely signified that, okay, Stephanie, you've basically been doing this person's job like the whole time, and instead of them like promoting you, they put another person into like in front of us who had no experience in our field. And it was just kind of like a slap in the face, to be honest. It really was. And it was very blatant that there were discriminatory and racism that was going on there, because literally everybody who were in these higher level positions were Caucasian. They were like, anyone who was like above me, like in like director roles and stuff like that, they were Caucasian. And not only did this happen to me, this happened to other people of color there as well. So it was definitely a pattern. I did report it, because at this point in time, like, you know, I'm an adult compared to how it was in college, where I'm just kind of like, I don't understand this feeling. Like, I just don't like the feeling, but I don't know what it is. At this point in time in my life, I know exactly what it is. This is discrimination and this is racism. And so I reported it and everything like that. Now, mind you, before I reported this, you know, I was picked to do all of this stuff. Like literally a couple of months later, I had just like presented to the governor of Georgia, the governor of Georgia, who is still the governor now. I didn't vote for him, by the way, but the governor of Georgia, I actually presented to him face to face, him as well as the CEO of the company. And so if you having me doing all of this and doing all of that, a couple of months later when I reported like, hey, I feel like this is what's going on, I feel this, I have this, you know, and other people in the department feel this way as well, blah, 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 blah. And then I felt like it was a target on my back. That's when I felt like it was a straight target on my back of like, we have to get rid of this girl right here. Immediately. Immediately. So, feeling that way, obviously I had already made the decision that I wanted to leave. So I was already like applying to other positions and stuff like that. But it was one job that I really, really wanted, because I had done a lot of research on it. Plus, one of my other managers had worked there and had told me so much great stuff about the company. I really, really wanted this position. I applied and I did like a boatload of interviews, seriously, like a boatload of interviews. And I was just like, I really want this job. But the interview session took like a month long. Like like they put you through the ringer. So fast forward February 28th, I'll never forget. Actually, let's go a little bit back. February 27th, I remember I was getting my nails done, and then I saw on my calendar something popped up, a meeting at like 10 o'clock in the morning, and it was with HR and my manager. And And I remember I was like, well, I guess tomorrow you'll be getting fired, Stephanie. I remember I said that. I was like, I guess you're gonna be getting fired, you know? And so when I went into the meeting, I had already just in my mind just like came in with the mindset that they're probably gonna let you go. And lo and behold, when I went in, they let me go. And I just remember, like, I was sitting there and I was just like, okay. And they were like, well, do you have anything to say? And I was like, no. And then I left. And I remember I called a couple of people just to let them know that I had got let go. And then I remember, I'll never forget, and this was so weird. I just remember at that moment it was weird, but it felt good. I remember I was like halfway, I was basically at like the part of the parking lot to where you turn into like the street and everything. And I remember I saw my peripheral and I saw like the building like in the peripheral of my eye. And I was like, I'm so happy I don't ever have to drive up here and be in this environment ever again. I just remember that. I was just like, I'm just so happy I don't have to be in this environment ever again, because it was a shitty environment at the tail end of it. And also, mind y'all, the last person who was my manager, let's just say she was a huge fan of our last president and would go to the rallies with her husband. And so that just tells you, that's painting even more of the story of what I was dealing with there. But anyway, I remember driving down the highway and I just felt good. Like I didn't have a plan, obviously, at that point, you know. I knew I had applied for places, but I'm like, I don't know if these places are gonna call me back or whatever. So I just felt good. And I just remember I called my sister and I remember I told her, I was just like, you know, I was like, obviously they let me go because I, you know, reported them because of the discrimination stuff. I was like, but you know, Erin, I was like, I feel good. I was like, I don't know. I was like, I'm just happy that I don't have to go back there. And she was like, really? Like, she was like, you're not afraid? You're not nervous? And I was just like, no. And she's like, that's weird. And I was like, I know. I was like, but I don't know. I was like, I don't want to be in that atmosphere anymore. And she's like, I understand. And then I called another friend and told him. And those were the only two people I had told. And then besides the people that I work with also, but like outside of that, those were the only two people that knew about the incident until now that the whole world knows. But basically, I remember that was at 10, and then I went home and you know, I was just at home. And I was also doing a show with opera company here in Atlanta. And so I left out and I was like, oh, I'm gonna stop at McDonald's just to get like some fries, just to get some on my belly before I go, you know, to rehearsal. And then I'll never forget it, at 4 o'clock, got that phone call that I got hired, you know, for the job that I really, really, really want. And that's the company I'm at now. Some of you guys already know where I work, some of you guys probably don't. But I work for a tech company, and it was just like, it was the craziest thing in the world. Like, it's like, how do you go from getting fired to getting hired within a matter of hours? Like, where does that happen? But that's how I knew at that moment, like, God is real. Because seriously, I hadn't done anything wrong to anyone, and God knew that, and God had my back, and God said, you know what? This door is gonna close, but baby, I got something way better for you right here. Just go on through that door. You're gonna have to go through the storm, and you got it. But once you get through that door and you come through the next side, baby, you're golden. So, like, I remember I was just so happy, so fulfilled. I got, you know, higher salary. I also got equity with the company, which I had never gotten equity with any company, which, if you don't know what equity is, go look it up. It's like, it's a gem. Like, if your company offers you equity, yes, it's a win. It's a win for you. And also just like, there's so many freaking perks. Like, also we get we get like they give us like $75 for like health and wellness. We can use it anything, like for our gym memberships, massages. Like I actually use mine for like a massage subscription where I go and get my massages every month. They give us $125 when it comes to Wi-Fi every month. It's just so many great things. Like I had never got a company gift, and they gave us that company gifts for the holidays. It's just great. And then the biggest thing is that I get to work from home 100%. So I literally just hit a year at the company this past Tuesday, which was so fulfilling. And it was just so weird because it's like, oh my God, I've really been working remote, running a team from home. Like, where did they do that at? But it's been nothing but a joy. I love my manager. I love my colleagues. And it's just like sometimes like when I look back at where I was to now, I'm like, damn, you came a long way, girl. Like, but that's basically in a gist of everything that I talked about in the magazine. Just kind of like just sharing my world with everyone, and for anyone out there that just needs that little inspiration. And I remember like when I submitted it, I was so just like, oh my gosh, should I have wrote that? Should I have put that out there? And then like when she finally sent over like the final copy for me to review before they, you know, actually published it, I remember I was like, maybe you should take this part out. Maybe you should take this part out. And I was just like, no, we're gonna live in our truth. We're gonna live in our truth. So I was like, everything looks good. Everything looks good. And then it came out last Thursday, and I remember I was like, okay, it's out. But I'm like, well, nobody knows it's out. So if you don't want to share it with anybody, you don't have to. But I did. I shared it with my Instagram family as well as my Facebook family. And now I'm sharing it with you guys. And I got so much love from just everyone. And it was just like, I don't know, I felt like I kind of wanted to cry a little bit. Because and I'm not a crier, by the way. I'm not a crier. I only cry if like it's a family death or something like that. Like I don't cry, and I don't say that with pride or anything like that. It's just a lot of things just don't faze me to where I'm crying. Like literally the only thing that kind of gets me is like a death. But it just made me kind of like you know, I don't know, I got a little emotional because like people were just like, oh my God, I read it, and like I didn't know you went through that, and like this is so inspirational. And like this one girl was saying that she read it, and like her friend was kind of going through something a little similar, and she was like, I told her to read your article, and she did, and she was like, it made her feel like better. And that's exactly why I wanted to do it, because you never know what you've been through, like your story that could touch someone else, that could help them get through their journey as well. I know that for me, I had listened to so many other people's stories of like, you know, them being vulnerable and putting themselves out there, and that's kind of what inspired me to be like, you know what, I'm gonna just do it and live in my truth, and it is what it is. Because technically, I mean, because I didn't do anything wrong in that whole situation that I was in before, when it came to school as well as the job that I talked about. So but that just goes to show you that life has its ups and downs, but you just need to stay focused on you. There will be roadblocks thrown in your way. Like you can see clearly, like that's what I'm reaching for over there. Like it's just straight in front of me. But trust and believe, when you're walking towards it, there's gonna be things thrown at you to try you to see like, okay, is this gonna knock her off? But my thing is, when something's thrown your way, you just find another way to go around it and keep back on the path. And that's what I do. Like it is what it is. People are gonna be malicious in your life. People are gonna not like you for whatever reasons they don't like you. But at the end of the day, don't focus on that. Focus on you, because in the end, when you focus on yourself, you win and they lose. You win and they lose. And the reason they lose is because they want you to lose. So the more you win, the more they lose. So, so saying that, I just wanted to share that with my YouTube family as well. Make sure that you check it out. I will have it linked below for you guys to go and read it before they publish someone else for the next month. And thank you guys so much for supporting my channel, supporting my videos. Thank you to all the subscribers. I just feel super humble and grateful and appreciative of all the love that everyone has given me. Seriously, like I said on my post, I don't care if you sent me a DM, if you liked it, if you commented, you sent me a text, you sent me a call. I don't care how even if you didn't even say anything and you just read it and you didn't, I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. And yeah, so that's kind of like wrapping up like everything that happened with my little magazine journey and like my story and everything like that. I hope you guys have gotten to know me just a little bit more, because I don't want to, sometimes I think like when it comes to how my life is now, where I'm living a very, you know, I'm living a nice life, but it wasn't always easy. Like I did not grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. Nothing was ever given to me. I don't have a degree. I've had people who just didn't like me. I've had people who fired me because they didn't like me and they didn't like me being outspoken. But that did not stop me from still gaining everything that I have. And that's because, like I said, you have to focus on you. Don't focus on those other people, because they're just roadblocks. So with that being said, I'm gonna wrap up the video here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe. And for everyone who has stayed with me this long in the video, thank you so much for watching until the end, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.